Everyone. Today, I want to talk about every parent's favorite topic, your child's tantrums. I know as a parent myself how frustrating and overwhelming uh, dealing with tantrums can be. And actually, instead of talking about what we can be doing during these tantrums, I want to think about what can we help our kids learn to do instead of tantruming? Because really, when we talk about tantrums, it's something automatic going on for kids, where there's a certain level of overwhelm that they're feeling, you just can't handle it, and that's when we see the things like the yelling and the crying and the screaming and the throwing and the hitting and all the stuff that that comes with tantrums. And if your child is especially struggling with this, so you're seeing it a lot and you're feeling like it could be for any little thing and even unpredictable what it's going to be about today, it's likely that your child doesn't is also feeling overwhelmed with what they're experiencing and doesn't really know yet how else can I be dealing with these feelings. So I want us to talk about or think about that today of what else can kids do to express their anger rather than um, avoid getting angry in the first place, because that's a much harder process. Anger is going to pop up, and we want them, especially if they're struggling emotionally, to feel like there's something I can do when it does pop up. So the first thing we want to keep in mind for most things is what are you doing as a parent? And the more you're modeling the direction you're hoping your child can go, the more likely that your child's going to be able to get there. So think about, what are you doing when you're angry? And really, for adults, sometimes it's better to think of that as, what are you doing when you're stressed or worried or your mind is somewhere else, right? So you're maybe not having tantrums like your child would, but what are you doing? Is it short answers? Are you irritable? Are you uh, easy to kind of jump at people at home? How are you expressing your frustration? And thinking about how you can use a change in that to help encourage a change for your child. So is it sometimes just saying, um, I'm having a tough day today, or taking a deep breath, or catching yourself after snapping and saying, okay, uh, sorry for the way I said that, but I am feeling. And really, when we're talking about language, that can be a big first step for a kid feeling more confident in those moments. So thinking about another thing we could be doing as parents is thinking about how we're talking about anger, because um, the less personal it feels, the more likely that your child's going to be able to feel confident enough to change things up or to try something new. The more personal it feels, then when they're angry, it's going to be hard to. It's going to be about them. Something wrong with me. Those types of thoughts start coming up, oftentimes after the tantrum too. So another thing we can be doing is talking about what anger is. And my favorite analogy to use with kids about what anger is like a tidal wave, and it comes, and we have much less chance of whether it comes or not, but we do get to choose where we stand. So if we're standing underneath that, we're going to get knocked over and just overwhelmed with the wave of anger, and that's where all I could see is how angry I am. But even then, the wave goes away, but I'm left with thinking about all that stuff that I said or that I did that doesn't feel so good. So what we're trying to do is learn to, instead of standing underneath, ride the wave. So that's what we need to get a surfboard out, and we need to learn how to ride that. And because so then when the wave goes down, I'm better ready to move on without, that guilt of maybe what happened during. So then how do we do that? And there's no, in my opinion, there's no like one size fits all for each family or each kid of what that could look like. But some ideas are, making a space, like a fort or an area where if your child goes there, especially when they're kind of ticked off, the understanding is, okay, you get your space there, and we're going to kind of leave you alone. And when you're ready, we'll talk about whatever it was. So kids can feel safe going there and letting that anger pass a little bit before moving on. I think another big one is drawing out how angry you are. So sometimes that just looks like scribbling on a piece of paper, and that can help you be able to say like, wow, you're that angry, and help your child feel like they're expressing and you're hearing where they are. And there's lots and lots of other ways, and we have some more resources on our website. But really thinking about what might it look like if we did something different. And anything you decide you want it to look like, you can also expect that's not going to happen if we haven't practiced before a tantrum, because all the thinking processes and planning and being reasonable is turned off during a tantrum. So really thinking about how can we practice this beforehand, and that means you modeling too. So you might not have a fort, but you can practice, oh, I'm so angry right now, even if it's fabricated, and walking away, taking a deep breath. Okay, I think I'm ready. So your child is getting to see you do it too, and again, that's going to help it feel less personal. And then another kind of final thing I'll mention to keep in mind is if your child's struggling so much with tantrums, no matter how well you do at all these things, it's not going to be a quick like light switch change. So you thinking about that and helping your child feel that way too, that it's okay if it's not perfect, if they're still losing their cool sometimes, if even you get, oh, I'm so mad at you, and versus an I hate you. That's a big change in the right direction, and we really want to be highlighting those even small feeling changes, because that's going to be a big part of continuing to move in that right direction. So I hope that was helpful. I'd love to hear your comments and questions and feedback. And I put a link to the full blog, so feel free to check that out as well. And of course, feel free to reach out if you feel like your child or you can use some more support. Thanks so much for listening.